Hey, it's KR here talking about how an object that the players, a gallows that the players see, is indicative in the power of that object, but also in the nature of a sandbox homebrewed campaign. Because a sandbox promotes the idea that the players wander into through your world, whether purposefully or just to wander. But when they see different things along the way, they don't have to go and investigate that. They're not told what to do as they go through your world. But that doesn't mean that they don't see things along the way that are very evocative, and few things are more evocative than a gallows. So this came from a discussion I had on my podcast with Dan Norton, where I said, "Hey," because I was thinking about this video. We were talking about sandbox campaigns. I said, "This works right in," because I have this idea about the players coming through a town, might be a village, or more like a town, right? And as they come through, they hear knock, 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 knock. Something's being constructed, and they go in through the gates, and there in the town square, a gallows is being constructed, right? Raised up from the ground. Then you have that pole, with the hangman's noose that's going to be on there. They're testing the trap door for when the person is hung. And I said, this is a perfect evocation of what it means to do a sandbox, because the players had no knowledge of this. They just come along. They may be doing something else. They might be there for some purpose. But they see this gallows, and what do they do? How do they react, right? Because what does this gallows tell us? Well, someone is going to die. Someone's going to be hung. Somebody wants them dead, right? Because they've done something either to oppose the laws, they've broken laws of this community, or not, or it's some political thing. I mean, again, we don't know why, but somebody wants them dead. The government will assume, or who runs the town. And then is there a possibility that someone could prevent this from happening, right? Is this execution just? And it's just the sight of that gallows that tells the players there is a power structure here which can decide life and death. Actions matter. There are consequences. And it also creates tension because the players see this gallows being constructed. It hasn't been used yet. They're preparing to use it. So you've got fairly soon, you would assume. And again, they're going in there doing something totally different. They see these gallows and they're like, what is that about? And they start to ask questions. They're going to say to people, what's up with the gallows? And so then do people talk about this? Is the mood of the town festive? Are people gathering? In the olden days, way back when, public hangings were events. People set up carts, they sold food, entertainers, right? People all wanted to see, this famous criminal or this, this person, the regicide or something like that. They wanted to see it happen, right? When they used to cut heads off, they'd hold the head up and the crowd would cheer or whatever. Is that the mood, or is it somber? Is no one else, people are just sort of moving along and pretending like they can't even see the gallows? Or are they inside, right? Their houses, the shutter's drawn. What is going on? Who is being hung? Why? And will the townspeople talk about this? As they come into town and they see this thing and they ask the guards, oh, yeah, that's this criminal. Finally caught him, took care of that scum. Okay. Then they go into town. They see the tavern people. Well, he wasn't a criminal. He was a hero. He just fought the Burgermeister or whatever, the evil count. And, this is punishment for him daring to even talk about his injustices. Okay. So this is an unjust, it's a political act. It's retribution. And you could get 3 or 4 perspectives on why this person is being hung. And of course, who benefits from this, if anyone? If it's just a criminal and he robs people and they hang him, part of that is to tell the townsfolk, hey, the government is here to help prevent this. We're going to punish this person for what they did. But if someone is, oh yeah, she was a witch, right? And we're hanging her. And then, of course, whoever turns in a witch gets to keep their property. That's the law, right? So, there's some reason here. This is an unjust thing. And now, again, in the D&D world, witches are real, so it's not like in real life where there were no such thing. But still, is that the case? Is this person just doing, a sorcerer that uses magic like any other sorcerer? Is this a place where magic is frowned upon such that if you are found using it, you're hung, right? So you're going to find out those things. And again, the players are just there to see what's going on. Because the question, of course, that I, we're not answering yet is, can the players get involved? Do they want to get involved, and can they stop this from happening, or do they investigate and decide this is okay? This person deserves this. And this is the essence of a sandbox. The idea being you choose to do what you want to do. Do we get involved in this hanging thing? And the GM has laid this out. This person's being hung. We've investigated. We didn't just go, oh, there's Gallows. We don't want to worry about that. Sometimes you'll have players that say, I know KR is putting that there to get me involved. But we've got to stick to our plan. We've got, only so much time or whatever. But typically players will go, well, I'm going to at least ask. I'm going to at least find out. And then they have to make that decision. Do we get involved? Do we turn this way instead of that way? And you as the GM are allowing them to do whatever they want to do. That is the key. You're setting up these potentially very dramatic situations. Dramatic in the sense of they're going to take someone up there and hang them and kill them. That's dramatic. And we have to decide, we're going to investigate and decide what are we going to do. That is moral tension. And of course, the other element of such a striking image like a gallows is that it invites, or I shouldn't say invites, it creates a pathway for all sorts of interesting adventure hooks. So the first, the power structure of this town, such that this person is being executed, what is that all about? What is that? It creates a depth to your world where the players are investigating this and finding out who are the major players and what exactly is going on here. The second is the crime, does it deserve this sort of punishment? Was there a crime at all? Has this person been set up? Is this purely political? Again, is it economic? Someone's trying to take their property and they've accused them of a crime. And then behind all that is the action and adventure sort of twist to this. Are the players going to get involved in stopping this execution? Are they going to do something as simple as freeing the person from the jail, sneaking in, freeing them from the jail, and becoming criminals themselves? Are they going to attempt that this person was wrongly convicted before, obviously before they're hung? So accept the ruling, they're in the jail, but we're going to prove that they're innocent, and we're going to find out the real criminal. And if it's someone powerful in town, if the players help the person escape, they're wanted for doing that. They expose this powerful person, they're going to be wanted for that, unless the town rises up, unless, again, the players solve this in such a way that everyone realizes, oh, this person that runs this town is evil. Or they do it in such a way everyone knows they're evil, but they're afraid. They're just common people. They can't stand up to this guy. But when the players come into town, this is part of this tension. Here are these adventurers. Here are 5 or 6 heavily armed, capable, adventure types that everybody knows you don't mess with them. And the people that have set up this hanging, the judicial system doesn't want them to interfere, doesn't want them to stick their nose into this. Or do they? Or do they simply say, oh yeah, this guy, he's got a long list of crimes. We finally caught this bandit and now he's being hung. Okay. You can certainly do that. Not as interesting, potentially, but maybe. Because the other element is, does this bandit have some connection to the players? If it's a bandit, because this is a classic where the bandit did something for the players, and now they've been, and they're being hung for like stealing horses or something. You can decide that, well, that's not really deserving of a death sentence. So what do we convince them to make them, an indentured servant or something, or, just serve a jail term or something like that? Whatever that is, if there's that personal connection, that sort of adds to it. I got to be careful with personal connections here because I'm trying to use this as pure sandbox. Players see it and they decide whether they want to get involved. If they do decide they want to get involved, then they realize, oh, we know this person, this bandit. Now you're adding a little, you're doing a little goading, as we say. So you want to be a little cautious on that. So you have the gallows as a symbolic force for what that represents to us. The end of someone's life, the ultimate extension of justice, which decides you can no longer live. You aren't merely banished. You're not merely held prisoner for a while. You must be killed. And it also has what the theorists call narrative density. And what that means is there's all sorts of possible storylines that can leading into the gallows and then potentially leading back out. The players see this and know that there's all these elements that can be explored about this prisoner or prisoners, but certainly if there could be multiple people that are going to be hung. They used to do that too all at the same time. but there's a lot of storylines leading into it and potentially leading out. And so the site of this tells us that the Sandbox campaign is it's not a linear path, right? It's a landscape. It's a whole vista of possibilities that the players are constantly encountering. They're making the decisions of where they want to go. You are potentially, giving them incentive. If you do this thing, you'll be paid 1,000 gold. If you do this, you'll be paid 10. Okay. But oftentimes players, if this thing has a lot of emotional import, my child has been kidnapped, I only have 10 gold, right? Well, I want you to help me wipe out this thing. I'll give you 1,000 gold. Well, what are the players going to do? Because sometimes they'll do that. They'll say, this guy, can you give me a few days or something? But you know what I'm saying. But they look at that vista and they feel free to do whatever they want to do. And the choices they make were based on their moral compass, what they're getting out of the game, what they want their heroes to be like in this world. And as I say, that site of that Gallows, totally, as a GM, I use that as a conduit for the players to make the kind of decisions that I think make a Sandbox campaign really fun. And a shout out to my Patreon supporters. This week, I did a PDF on magic dinosaurs, a whole origin story. Really fun. I'd love to hear you guys, not just Gallows, but any images that you use where the players come across it, see something, and react to it. And like the video, subscribe to my channel, but most importantly, my friends, keep playing an RPG game. Whichever one you choose, tell somebody else about it.